Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mat podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, it's Monday, so we must be here for Monday Night Raw. It is June 6, 2022, Beyond the Mat podcast. Thank you all for joining me tonight. We are going to do a quick review of Monday Night Raw. I have Brad on the line. He's going to be joining us in just a second. Encourage you guys all to follow me on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE, and thank all of our patrons who enjoy the shows ad-free. Remember, if you guys want to get rid of the ads that you hear in the beginning and sometimes during the show, just join our Patreon for $1 at the lowest tier. You'll get ad-free content, merchandise, and other benefits as well. Also, email us, matt@beyondthemat.com, and we will include you in our What Matters segment that we do once a week, maybe once every other week at times. Chris and I record that show, and we will talk about the topics that you choose. Tonight, though, we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw. That was live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. At least some town near Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm not sure if they actually have an arena in Green Bay, but that's what the baby faces were talking about, and we got it kicked off with Cody Rhodes after his valiant effort last night with that gruesome injury that we saw of his torn pectoral muscle. But before we get into all that, let me introduce my guest tonight. It is Brad. Brad, how you doing?
How you doing, Matt?
Pretty good. What'd you think of the show?
Man, I love these shows where everything seems new. The ones right after a pay-per-view where just things start anew, and that's always really fun.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot of new things, some turns, fresh stuff starting, things, that were going on for a while that we kind of didn't see an end in sight for. Definitely ended last night, and new things started tonight. Things that I think people didn't see coming from a mile away. A couple of things that I saw coming, and I called and said maybe this would happen, and it ended up happening, and I was surprised at the time. I never thought I was actually going to be right. Just mentioned it as a possibility. Judgment Day turning on Edge being one of those things, and in Rhea Ripley being the next opponent for Bianca Belair. They worked that out in the main event. But first we had Cody Rhodes in the segment with Seth Rollins. What'd you think about Cody and Seth here? Cody's promo and then the attack by Seth.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it made you really dislike Seth more than ever. At least it did that to me. But it wasn't necessary. I don't think it was necessary. I think they could have just left it at Seth giving him the respect, walking away, and that was it. I mean, I don't think it was needed, the attack. I think it was, it was interesting, but to me, it was a little gruesome considering the situation and knowing it's a real live injury. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and the thing is, was that to further write Cody off of TV for now, or was it to what? I don't understand the purpose of it, to be honest with you. I mean, is it to show that when Cody is able to wrestle again, he still has unfinished business with Seth? Like, what exactly was Cody's mission in even cutting the promo in the first place?
Well, you just pointed it out. I mean, the promo was kind of like a thank you promo. It was, basically Cody coming out there telling everyone he tore his pectoral muscle. It fell off the bone, and, he might be back in a month to hopefully grab that money in the bank briefcase if he can still climb a ladder. He did say that.
Right.
And then he motioned to look above me, what's up here, and the camera went up, and you saw the two briefcases there. So Cody said, this briefcase has eluded me throughout my career. It's something I want, and that was, pretty much the point of the promo. It was a lot of thank you, Cody chants, and Cody chants and things like that. Nothing much more than that. To this promo. It was good. It was cool to see, but there was nothing really of note that kind of we didn't know, other than Cody almost kind of saying goodbye or I love you to the fans sort of thing.
Maybe it was also to sort of, plant the seed that if possible, at all, in any way, if he can get in a Money in the Bank match, which it's easy to protect people in a Money in the Bank match with 6 people. And like he said, if he can climb the ladder and if he can get a briefcase down, they can find a way. If that torn pectoral muscle, I guess, I don't know what the process is in healing that and repairing it, but if they can do something that he's healed in that time, they can have enough people beating the hell out of each other and him protected most of the match and win it. Although I think he himself probably wouldn't want to win it in any other way that he looks strong doing so. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do or where they're going to go with it or what the point of him even saying that is or suggesting it. Because, I understand that's what his mission always was. But if it's not going to happen, him making people think that he may come back in a month after this injury that, is said to be, up to us. We may not see him for the rest of 2022. If it's that bad of an injury, then I don't think people should be speculating he come back in a month and win Money in the Bank ladder match because they may be disappointed. Now, if it's something, I'm not a doctor, so if it's something that they can pull that off with and he can actually have a match where we know he's injured, but he's coming in there, just really trying to whatever to get through it, just like last night's match with Seth Rollins, and somehow he wins it and they book it the right way, then fine. But at the end of the day, I appreciated the promo from him and coming out, thanking the fans, opening the show. I did not understand and appreciate the Seth Rollins part of it at all. I understand that we're supposed to hate him more and he's the heel here, and they want to maintain his heat regardless, but they didn't need to ruin the moment that I think Cody was trying to have and was due to have if he's going to be going away for a while because of a legit injury. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. And it's funny, just the way 2022 has gone, if they somehow let Cody in not even a month compete in this Money in the Bank matchup, and of course he wins it, it would be like another thing being held hostage. I mean, it's kind of another topic, but, another thing that now the person who holds the Money in the Bank briefcase is out 4 or 5 more months. So you have both championships on a guy who's not really going to be there as much. You have the tag team championships on one team, and then you have the Money in the Bank briefcase held by a guy who's not going to be there for 4 months. It would be quite apropos based on the way things are going.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. And I wonder, I would think, in my opinion, if you're going to let him win the Money in the Bank being injured, then he's at least got to have to defend his Money in the Bank briefcase to somebody who says, hey, I want that if you're going to hold on to it all the way until WrestleMania. And then he at least have some kind of feud where I guess they have another protected match. But, they at least got to do something. They can't just hold all the titles and the paths to the titles hostage. I mean, what are they going to do next? Have the Royal Rumble winner go
out for 4 months? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Until WrestleMania. Yeah.
So
it's ridiculous.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had the Usos tonight. They're going to be facing Street Profits to defend their undisputed unified titles. Street Profits won by count out. But that was the Cody Rhodes. But the next after that, we'll get to the Street Profits and Usos in a minute. But we had Dana Brooke and Becky Lynch. The 24/7 stuff started first. I'm not even going to break that down, but it ended with Becky Lynch telling Dana Brooke wanted the 24/7 back from Tozawa. Then Becky Lynch said she wants that title. Now we've seen in the last couple of weeks Becky Lynch, basically pushing Dana Brooke aside while she was trying to do a backstage interview and just took over the interview. So they had a little bit of beef there. And this also showed Becky's obsession with titles because she saw Dana with that title and she wanted it. So they had a match for the title. Asuka came out. Asuka ended up breaking up a manhandle slam attempt by Becky Lynch by grabbing her legs through the ropes, which distracted Becky for a minute and allowed Dana to roll her up and get the pin and retain her 24/7 title. But the story is not Dana. The story is not Becky Lynch's in the 24/7 scene. The story is heat between Asuka and Becky's gone as low as the 24/7 division just to get a title. What do you think about this segment? And what do you think about Asuka and Becky? Do you think that's really what this was all about?
Yeah, it was what it was all about at the end of the day. But man, look again, not about the 24/7 title. Just seeing Dana Brooke beat Becky. This is like seeing, the worst team in the NFL beat, the best. I mean, this is like, to me, totally unnecessary for Dana to have won that match, even with the Asuka weak sort of foothold that she did on the outside of the ring to like pin Becky down or whatever. To me,
it should have just been a DQ interference, non-finish.
Or something far more lethal from Asuka. Like Asuka, literally, the ref's back is turned and Asuka actually punches her in the face with a brass knuckle. I understand Asuka is not a heel and she's not going to do something like that.
How about the poison mist? How about the poison mist again? Perfect analogy, because this was, to me, too weak to allow someone like Dana Brooke to beat Becky. And after that segment, my first thing that popped in my head was like, wow, like Becky looks just kind of weak there. Like she's just, she's standing there in the ring and it cuts to Saxton and Jimmy Smith talking at the desk. And that was kind of it for the segment. But it just made Becky, to me, look very, very weak and just not the champion that she is. I didn't like the way it was presented. And truthfully, what I really would have liked is Becky in the ring by herself says, "Who wants to challenge me?" Da-da-da-da-da. Maybe then Dana Brooke comes out. But for this to be like a set-up match, and it was a lot of strange things about this, man. Well, it was basically baloney 24/7 segment that Becky got involved in because of the fact that she'd been bumped into by Dana Brooke a couple times and was jealous of the fact that Dana Brooke had the title. She's basically hitting rock bottom mentally and going crazy over titles. Just couldn't stand the fact that she was looking at Dana Brooke with the title around her. And so she decided she wanted that title. And then you have Asuka come out and, prevent her from having the title. But I think that, no, it wasn't devastating for her to pull her legs, but it was such a shock and it affected Becky so much that, number one, Asuka would come get involved because she hates Asuka so much, evidently. And she also interfered with the fact that she was possibly about to hit a manhandle slam and win a title that she's so obsessed with winning. So those two factors are what sort of makes Becky not look as ridiculously weak losing this, I think, because if you factor in like the mental part of it, all right, she's mentally breaking down about titles. then she's mentally breaking down that Asuka's there, and then that catches her so off guard that she can't even kick out of a freaking schoolgirl. Then, I guess I can see where they're going with it. The main thing is that we're going to continue to see Asuka and Becky, which I think is a good thing overall. I mean, regardless of how she looked tonight, I think she looked great last night, and I think Asuka looked great last night. So what do you think about the possibilities of Becky and Asuka together at the next pay-per-view? And you think that they'll have a good one-on-one match?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I'd like to see this become a feud for like maybe who gets into the women's Money in the Bank. More like, I like when things mean something, even if it's just, you get a championship shot or this is for something, or entry into the Elimination Chamber, or entry into Money in the Bank. I'd like to see it mean something rather than just being like, oh, we just hate each other and we're just going to have a match. You know what I mean? I think it
would be nice to be number one contenders match. Like we're going to end up having Belair defend at Money in the Bank against somebody. It'd be nice if this was a big number one contenders match, and whoever won this faces the winner of Belair and her opponent at Money in the Bank for the title at SummerSlam or somewhere else. It'd be nice if it had that much weight to it. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's what is needed to me for any Becky Lynch feud at this point. It needs to have something on the line. At least that's what I think. I like to see that. She's too important. But to me, again, like seeing her lose to Dana Brooke was paramount to like Roman Reigns losing to Drew Gulak. Like, honestly, maybe not at that level, but almost. And I didn't like seeing it. And especially, again, in that weak way that Asuka just, like, kind of grabbed her foot. Like, come on, Becky, you're right by the ropes. You can't get out of that. Like, it was kind of silly, but yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, Becky's moving on to continue to work with Asuka one-on-one, which was supposed to be the plan anyway. I think it's a good program for us, so we'll enjoy that. 24/7 is what it is. I don't have as much a problem with 24/7 segments as everybody else does. Everyone's just like 24/7. That means it sucks. I'm just like, whatever, 24/7 segment, whatever. It's almost as the same, if you're going to sit there and evaluate the Ezekiel and Elias crap with KO. It's comedy stuff, It's not something I laugh out loud about, but I kind of, in my head, I'm just like, this is actually kind of funny, this situation. So, next up we have Miz TV with Riddle. Miz with his wife, Maurice. He is putting over their reality television show, the premiere of it. Riddle comes out, eventually gets cheap shotted by Ciampa. Now, what do you think the significance of all this Ciampa cheap shotting people after matches? He did it to Ali. Speaking of Ali, he lost the U.S. title match last night to Theory, and we did not see him at all tonight. But again, Ciampa was attacking Ali after matches, attacks Riddle here just before the match with Miz. Miz didn't want to have the match until the attack happened, and then Ciampa just backed off and, gave an evil look. And he's been somebody who's been rumored to join Judgment Day, who gained a new member tonight. We'll talk about whether it was him or not later. But what did you think about Ciampa here?
Man, I didn't really even think too much of it other than until you just said it, because, to me, he's just been kind of being inserted into these situations almost to just start something. And obviously that was just to start, a thing where Riddle's down and Miz is going to take advantage of the situation. He's down and out, whatever. But I got to be honest with you, man, there might be more to it, because he's really becoming like a goon. I mean, he might be the next member of Judgment Day for all we know, Yeah. I don't know what the point of this all is.
Yeah, it's just interesting. It's like they want to remind us that he's there, and they want to remind us he's a heel and that he can mess with something when it's happening, I guess. I don't know. I mean, he did it to Ali. What is the connection that Ali had with Riddle? And the only one I can think of is that it was a Miz segment at both of those times that he attacked Ali, was it not?
Yes, it was. It may be the Miz and Ciampa will have some sort of team at some point, or some sort of, he'll be like the Miz's goon type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe the Miz and Ciampa are in cahoots or something like that.
Exactly, in cahoots. That's the right word.
That's the only thing I can think of because I don't know what the hell else is going on. But I'll tell you what else is going on with Monday Night Raw. We had the Street Profits take on the Usos for a championship contenders match. Might as well call it a number one contenders match against the champions in a non-title match, but they call it a champions contender match. This was a pretty good match between these two teams. Street Profits end up winning by a count out. WWE really liking those count out finishes. Jey Uso could not make the count. Montez Ford got in just at 9. Dawkins had a really nice swanton bomb over the top rope to take out the Usos during this match. But we are going to see the Street Profits versus the Usos in a championships match. I would imagine the Usos would end up retaining in that. But what do you think of this one?
No, look, I didn't love the ending, to be honest with you. This match seemed a little slow, like especially the part where the Usos were just working over Dawkins. It just seemed, look, I know the Usos tend to work at this very methodical pace a lot of the time. And to me, there was some very slow portions of this match, slower than they usually work at. And I didn't necessarily find this to be like the most exciting match by any means. I did like the part where, Ford gets the hot tag and he comes in and he does that enormous high flying move where he almost hits his head on the Money in the Bank briefcases. That was pretty cool. But
Splash,
I just did not love this match in general. I found it very slow and long and not as exciting as it should be between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, it did kind of drag a little bit and had 2 commercial breaks, so that never is a good thing. It was a long match. Had some good spots. Like you said, the big frog splash was nice, but I'm not into the count out finishes like that. I understand that doing that prevents the Usos from taking a pin and looking weak, and then, of course, people can't say it's 50-50 bookie because they beat them now and then they lose in the championship match. So they beat them by sort of a bullshit way, which leads us to believe that really the Street Profits have no freaking chance to have any kind of shot at winning the title match, So,
absolutely.
On one hand, it's nice to protect the Usos. On the other hand, it's ridiculous to make the Street Profits look like they can't actually win a match. So if they can't win the match, then why the hell should they have a championship match? If you can't win the championship by count out, then why should you get to gain a championship match by count out?
100%.
That's what I thought.
It was fun. It was fun seeing Riddle come out and celebrate with them out of nowhere. He just, all of a sudden he was there and, raising their arms in victory. It was, that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was nice to see Riddle there. Commentary saying, of course, anytime that Riddle has a chance to celebrate something against the bloodline, he's going to do that. But it also was nice to see him, back with the Street Profits after the beef that they had with the Street Profits, turning on Roman Reigns music and distracting them and beating them just before they had the unification match and all that. So, Riddle is a beloved character, and then it got the Street Profits, even more babyface support, just as they got last week when they were clowning The Miz during the Miz TV segment. So that was a nice moment too.
One thing I could say is they're really getting their money's worth out of Riddle's contract, because Riddle's working Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He's working every day of the week, basically, this guy.
Yeah, he's really working a lot for him. And he's working good, man. And he should be. Doubt. It's like I said, he should be a champion soon. I don't know when.
Well, It was interesting just going back to the Riddle Miz thing, actually. really quick was that Riddle started saying, I want that tribal chief. What does he call him? The tribal piece of trash.
Yeah.
I want that tribal piece of trash. And then he started saying, like, I want him at Money in the Bank. I think The Miz interrupted him or something like that. But there's been a lot of people that are kind of saying, I want to challenge Roman, like a lot. Like Riddle, Bobby Lashley did it last night. You had Drew McIntyre do it on Friday night. You had, Cody Rhodes say it tonight that he's going to be the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. So you've had a lot of people over the last few days that have said this.
Yeah, but they're all kind of saying that they're going to do it at different times. Riddle's saying Money in the Bank. McIntyre saying in London or whatever. Cody Rhodes is saying at WrestleMania or whenever. Lashley's just saying, here's a title belt that's in the crowd. I'm going to hold it up because I'm definitely going to get a shot sometime soon, So, but I definitely do think that Money in the Bank, if there is a Roman Reigns match, it will be Riddle. I think he's got to be next. There's, we've talked about it a million times, but, of all the people that have said they want a title shot, Riddle's the one on the most direct track to that, in my opinion. He's directly involved with the bloodline, has been. So, I don't see any way that they're going to go any other route than have Riddle be the next contender for it. And of course, he's probably going to lose now, but I think he will be a champion within the next year or so, whether he has to beat Roman Reigns or somebody who has already beaten Roman Reigns. But that's just my opinion on him. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and we'll be back in a second. Remember to join us on Patreon if you want to avoid the commercials, and follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. We're available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Remember to leave us a 5-star rating, review, hit the thumbs up button, whatever you got there. And of course, subscribe. We'll be back right after this.
The Beyond the Mat podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat podcast.
All right, so Bobby Lashley comes out for a promo here. Austin Theory interrupts him, tells him to get the hell out of his ring. Real disrespectful to Lashley. Lashley playing the calm babyface here. How do you think Lashley did on the promo? And it looks like we're going to get a U.S. title feud between Lashley and Theory. What do you think about that matchup?
I hate being negative. I really like Bobby Lashley as a person. I really think he's probably a terrific guy, and he's really fun to watch wrestle sometimes. But really, this promo, this got exciting just because of Austin Theory. It was amazing. Like, it wasn't Bobby Lashley. He just does not seem confident when he talks. He seems like almost like unsure of himself, like he's about to say the wrong word or something. He's not like the worst I've ever heard, but he doesn't come across with like a pizzazz of any sort. It's just very like flat to me when he does a promo.
It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel authentic. It feels like he's trying to convince you of something that somebody told him or something. You know what I mean?
It seems like a quiet guy who's trying to be something that he's, trying to be like loud and aggressive, or trying to be like more aggressive than he should be. Like, he's one of those guys, like, I let my fighting do the talking for me, like almost like in like these quiet MMA guys, which obviously he was. To me, like, I don't love Bobby Lashley's promos, but I will say when Austin Theory came down, that was like the equalizer for me. Like, Austin Theory is such a jerk, and I realized in this that Austin Theory is way better than even I thought he was. Like, he is really becoming a very strong promo, in my opinion.
Yeah, he did do a good job, and he definitely saved the segment. I think Lashley, like, even when Lashley's describing, he's like, oh, that Omas thought that he could get me with having 2-on-1, but it wasn't enough for me because I'm the Almighty. And it's just like, what are you talking to, a bunch of 7-year-olds? Like, what are you doing here?
Well,
he doesn't sound
I was with a 7-year-old who didn't find it that appealing. You know,
yeah, that's funny, man.
You know?
Yeah, he just doesn't seem like intimidating when he's talking, and that's the problem. He's an intimidating person that doesn't come across as that behind the microphone.
Yeah, he looks great. I also do not like the new drums entrance. I just liked it when that music hit. Bum, 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 bum. I don't know what the drums is. And to me, it has a very sort of like African Congo sound, those drums. And that, you know, really jives more with like Omas, you know, than with Bobby. I don't know, man. I actually am excited about the idea of Theory versus Bobby Lashley, but I don't love the idea of Bobby Lashley like doing these promos, and it has to be Austin Theory setting it off now every time, in my opinion.
Well, hopefully they can just have a match pretty soon here, because, you know, Bobby Lashley was out there in his gear. I thought they were going to have a match, but they didn't. And maybe having him in his gear was a good way to make us think that. But I agree with you. You know, you don't want to have this feud going on with Bobby Lashley having to cut all these promos. He needs to really just have this match with Theory, put Theory over to make Theory stronger here. I don't care if Theory has to cheat to win. If he beats Bobby Lashley in his U.S. title reign, that makes his title reign a lot more significant than it is now. The only person he's beaten is Mustafa Ali, and he beat Finn Balor to win it. So, I mean, has he defended it against anybody else that I'm not thinking of?
No.
Yeah, no. So, I mean...
well, he did defend it against Cody Rhodes, but that we all know what happened in that match.
Yeah, Seth Rollins interfered with that one. So, you know, it'd be nice to see him defend against Bobby Lashley and go over somehow and avoid these promos here. As far as the intro for Lashley, I like the star-studded aspect of it. The drums line, I don't really like. I view it the same way that you do. It sounds a little bit sort of tribal. A little bit tribal and just out of the character or out of key of what his actual entrance music is. Entrance music isn't tribal like that. It's like, it just sounds almost like a Darth Vader type of song. You know what I mean? That's what
it's completely just not the right tone to set for him. When he came into that, you know, that yellow almighty swirling hurricane thing, and the music just hit bump, 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 bump. That was cool. I do not like this thing where he's on. Also, I don't like him being on that podium. I think it's really stupid, man. What is he? He's a big guy. What the hell does he need to be on a podium for and then step off of it?
I don't know. I kind of liked it because it just him being a baby face. They want to present him in a big way, but each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
Veer Mahaan up next against Dominic Mysterio. Rey Mysterio ran in for the save when Veer was about to beat the hell out of Dominic here. So this ended in no contest. What'd you think about Dominic and Veer here? Dominic did have a second where he was, you know, had Veer down, did some of his arm drag moves off the top rope and things like that. Veer was ready to overpower him, though.
Outside of the match, I mean, you know, you had Veer before the match actually talking like he's a human being who could formulate like a coherent sentence, which was interesting. You had a little promo from Veer backstage where he's saying, you know, I'm gonna, you know, Dominic, you're the weak son of Rey Mysterio, whatever he was saying. It didn't matter. It was just nice to see him talking like a human being a little bit. And then, you know, what you got out of this was really that Veer is very, very hard to stun, almost along the lines of what Omas was months ago, where no one could knock him down. There was no, you know, way to kind of get him down. I mean, Mysterios are doing all these kicks to him and all these things, and he gets stunned for a second, but he does not go down, which is interesting.
And this obviously resets the Mysterios back to Veer. They took a break last week to join Ezekiel against Kevin Owens and Alpha Academy. So it was kind of like what happened to the Veer and Mysterio's feud. So now we're back to that. Started a long time ago, and then they took Dominic off TV for a while. Ray was away for a while. I don't know where they're going to go with this. You know, probably a handicap match against Veer, Mysterio's versus him. But yeah, they're putting over Veer as a monster that you can't get down, and you know he doesn't sell. It was refreshing to see him cut more of a normal promo than just be a savage. So I was kind of into that. You know, I thought that was a plus. But overall, Veer and the Mysterios are both parts of the show where they're low points of the show for me.
See, to me, it actually wasn't that, like, it wasn't that uninteresting. I don't know why. I personally find Veer to be like somewhat captivating in a certain way. I actually found the low point in the show to be the Otis Ezekiel thing. Not because of Otis or even Ezekiel, it's just not as compelling to me as the Veer thing.
Yeah, well, I think anything with Ezekiel in the ring is just a waste of time. The stuff with Kevin Owens and all the little segments, and even the thing with Kevin Owens tonight is fine. It's kind of funny, but he's just not an exciting, charismatic guy in the ring. He doesn't move smoothly. It seems like he doesn't know how big the ring is. I don't know. There's something about Ezekiel, Elias, whatever you want to call him in the ring that I'm just not a huge fan of. But next up, we had big surprise coming here. Judgment Day promo. We had a countdown clock for them tonight. We used to have the Cody countdown clock. We had a countdown clock last week, I think, for, what was it, the Usos versus Riddle and Nakamura match or something? And this,
no, that was
was it for
was that SmackDown?
No, they didn't have a countdown clock on SmackDown. It's only 2 hours. They don't need a countdown clock.
No. What I'm saying is, wasn't the Usos Nakamura match on SmackDown?
Yes, but the championship contenders match was on Raw.
Correct. Yes, correct. Okay. You're right.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had the countdown clock tonight for Judgment Day, and Judgment Day comes out for the promos. We have the All Rise by Priest. Everybody rises. Then we have Priest talk for a little bit. Rhea Ripley talks for a little bit. Then Edge talks. Edge actually sounded the best he sounded in any of the Judgment Day promos yet. And he talks about how he was so proud of Priest and so proud of Ripley, and that they had found another member who, came calling to them and wanted to join them. And they're going to reveal the next member right now. And the new member comes out. Finn Balor's music hit. Commentary tries to sort of mislead you just a little bit and say, is he going to get revenge for last night? Now, I wish they would have did a little bit more, because what ends up happening is Finn Balor enters the ring, shakes hands with Edge, then starts explaining that he saw last night how well Judgment Day works and he needed to stop being told what to do. Then Priest gets on the mic and says, there's one thing left for us to do. Stop being told what to do. And then Ripley, Balor, and Priest all beat the hell out of Edge. They get a razor's edge on him onto the announce table. They put him in a chair. They injure his neck in the chair. He ends up get taken away in a stretcher. And we are told later on that he's in the hospital and will be updated on social media. What'd you think here of the addition of Balor to Judgment Day, the sudden turn on Edge, and the injury angle, all that? What was your feeling here? Because I thought this was a pretty well done segment, and I even called this. I said, what if these guys in this faction are all like, yeah, well, you know what? You want to talk about not being successful, Edge? Well, you've been successful for 30 years, and we haven't, so the hell with you. We're going to throw you out of here. Stop telling us what to do. And that's what ended up happening. What'd you think?
There's no part of me that makes me feel like these three people, Ripley and Priest and Balor, can't stand alone without Edge. And I don't know why I feel that way, because none of them really are good promo. Priest is clearly, I think, the best of the three in terms of their microphone skills. But, he has a booming voice. He kind of commands a little bit. He did fumble a word or two here tonight, but regardless, there's something about it that I feel like can stand on its own without Edge. And I thought this was so well done, man. I just thought this was I guess you call this a swerve, right? Where I was not expecting this at all, especially not this soon into the Judgment Day. It feels like, oh, they're just starting to build it right now. Like, here comes the fourth person. And then there's this whole, plan that's been kind of concocted to attack Edge by Balor and Priest, who, let's not forget, a few months ago, these two were huge enemies, Balor and Priest. They were going at it every week for the U.S. title. We had that moment where Priest lost the title to him, and he was trying to get it back, and you had a lot of things going on between them two. So it was very well done. I thought this whole thing, man. I can't tell you how exciting I found this part of the show.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I really wonder if all along this was what they were going to do with it, have, three people join Edge and then turn on him, or if, they sort of read some of the tea leaves out there and found that, it wasn't really working with Edge in here, but if we turn him, then we can get, all this heat on these three people and get Edge to put him over a little bit after they've already gone over AJ Styles and Balor, but I guess Balor's now a part of the crew. But at the end of the day, Edge puts them over, in the beatdown, and they get some massive heel heat here. And I guess Edge is going to go away for a little bit, or, whenever he comes back, he's going to be a babyface again. But I agree. This was very well done and very interesting. And, it's one of those, reasons, one of those parts of the show that makes it that it's a good thing you didn't miss it. You know what I mean? And it sucks that it took, 2 hours to get there, but this was definitely a part of the show that you didn't want to miss.
I don't think we're going to see Edge again till Money in the Bank, and I think you will see him foiling Rhea Ripley's bid at the title and helping Bianca Belair somehow. That would be, to me, something that makes a ton of sense.
Well, yeah, we didn't get to that part yet where Rhea Ripley wins, but Rhea Ripley won the match later on. I wonder if Judgment Day stands in the way, though, of Bianca Belair, and then Rhea Ripley wins that match. No?
Yeah.
Or maybe Edge is just the equalizer and Belair wins the match.
Yeah. I didn't mean to jump ahead too much, but I can't see Bianca losing it this early into her reign. I think it would be too soon, but I think you have to do something to really protect Rhea in this situation. So I think that's a perfect scenario if you're going to have, Judgment Day, which we saw tonight at the end, and not to jump forward, but you did see them intimidating Bianca. So we'll get to that, I guess, in a little bit.
Yeah, so anyway, next up we had Cedric Alexander versus Omas. This match ended in about 3 seconds, and the whole point of it was so that we could have the glorious Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler come out. They go to the Gene Okerlund position for an interview, and then MVP gets pissed off and says, hey, you can't interrupt us like that when we're in the ring. So MVP comes to approach them. Dolph Ziggler gives him a super kick, and Robert Roode attacks Omas. So we now have the Dirty Dogs as baby faces here, feuding with Omas and MVP. Probably going to have a tag feud, and we have the Dirty Dogs as baby faces. The whole point of having them against Omas and MVP was to turn them baby face. What do you think about these two coming back as baby faces and feuding with Omas and MVP?
Matt, are we sure that they're baby faces, or did they just? Obviously there was a reason for them to do that. I'm not disputing it, but
Yeah,
me,
I'm
it
sure they're
didn't
baby
seem-
faces, man. They've been working baby faces house shows, and they would not put them against two of the biggest heels in the whole show if they weren't trying to make them baby face.
Yeah. And the reason I said that is because they did, look, I understand they're going to come out with their standard entrance and everything like that, but they did sort of that cocky sort of thing that they do. And it didn't seem, humble, like, oh, it's great to be back. We've been thinking about, who we are as, whatever things a babyface might say. That's the only reason why
Well, they didn't say shit. The whole idea was that they were kicking the ass of somebody who was a complete dickhead, and the turn didn't actually occur until they made the super kick to Omas and MVP. So
right.
Everything before, they may have came in as who knows what they are, but when they made the attack on Omas and MVP, you're not going to attack them if you're a heel. You're going to attack them if you're a baby face, and that's something that the crowd wanted to see. They popped for that. So
yeah, which also gives you another potential babyface tag team opponent for the Usos if needed at some point. I'm not saying it's a barn burner of a match, but it's something for the Usos to do down the line after the Street Profits if it's needed.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, I'm not crazy about seeing Omas or MVP do anything together in the ring. So if they are going to be a babyface tag team, the Dirty Dogs, and hopefully they get done with MVP and Omas quickly, and they can move on to something more important like the Unified Tag Championships. But next up, we had the Ezekiel and Otis match. This match ended with Ezekiel hitting actually a pretty nice looking crucifix pin on Otis. And then he challenges KO to a rematch. KO comes out and says that I will only give you a rematch if you admit that your name is Elias. So Ezekiel starts to say, I admit. And KO says, no, I won't fall for it. Say what you're going to say. And he says, I admit my name's Elias. And then Kevin Owens goes crazy and just starts saying, I knew it, you were Elias, all you people, you didn't believe it, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty funny the way he reacted. And then Elias says, I just did what you did and I lie. My real name's Ezekiel. And I think the whole thing is just like, I don't actually laugh out loud, but like, there's somebody actually writing this that thinks that it's actually like, either funny, like laugh out loud funny, or thinks it's something. And I just think it's so like convoluted and ridiculous. And Kevin Owens acts so funny that it's just ridiculous. And I think that at the end of the day, the whole purpose of all this is just to put over Kevin Owens as a really funny act, and also to do the same with Gable and with Otis, just to have a really, really strong comedy segment in your show. I think that's the only purpose of this. That's all I can see. I don't think, where else is they going to go with Ezekiel. But what did you think of, what do you think of all this Ezekiel Elias mind game stuff?
Man, I just don't understand why it's not over yet. I like you. I believe that it is a comedy segment. It's nothing really more than that. The match with Otis was pretty short. It was more about the Kevin Owens, kind of challenge thing with the lying and everything like that afterwards. It was not really about the match with Otis, but obviously they're involved as well, Alpha Academy. So I don't know where it's going, man. I honestly, it's one of those things I just cannot figure out, and I don't understand it. I really don't. There's no explanation to it.
Yeah, that's what I think, man. I don't think there is an explanation for it. I think it's one of those things that is just only there to be humorous and like, what the hell is going on here? But I don't think there's actually going to be an end game to it, other than like this, what happened tonight where he says, my name's Elias. Oh, wait, I was lying. And it's like, oh my God, like, well, wait a minute, weren't you lying the whole time? Like, like what now? It's just totally like they're messing with everybody. You know what I mean? because
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's I just think it's kind of funny the way that they're doing it, because it's almost like they don't care. They know everybody knows who he is, and they don't care, you know?
Absolutely. Man, listen, it's gives them something to do, I guess. I kind of wish Kevin Owens was doing something a little more meaningful, but I don't know. I kind of feel a little pity for Ezekiel. I just think it's just not working. Whatever this is, it's just not working. And something needs to happen and fast, I think, for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where he's going to go after this or what they could possibly do meaningful. Like I said, he doesn't get over, in my opinion, in the ring, and I don't see him ever getting over at like behind the microphone. So, you got a guy who previously had a guitar gimmick that was, played out, and people got bored of that shit. And, right now he's in like I said, a situation where it just seems to be done for comedy purposes, and eventually it's not going to be funny anymore. It's only going to be funny with Kevin Owens doing it the way that he's doing now, and, the support of Gable and Otis also on the side. But eventually it's just not going to be funny anymore. And they've already sort of gotten close to that line with what they did tonight by him saying, "My name's Elias. Oh, no, I'm lying. I'm really Ezekiel." Like, what else can they really do to mess around and, fire Kevin Owens up about it?
I mean, one other thing that, you could do is you could have Ezekiel start playing the guitar, and, just totally imitating Elias and getting him even more mad. I mean, you could take it to that level, but that's about as much as you could do. I mean, yeah, you're right. There's not much more to do.
Yeah, so I don't know where they're going to go with this next, but evidently we're going to get a rematch between the two of them. I still think KO is going to beat him again. Do you have any thoughts about the rematch, or you want to move on to the women's #1 contender match?
No, we'll talk about that next week, that rematch. That's going to be happening next week on Raw.
All right, so we'll
get into that.
We had the women's #1 contender match for the Raw Women's Championship match, or Raw Championship title. Bianca Belair was ringside for commentary. Alexa Bliss, Doudrop, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan were your competitors. Rhea Ripley ended up going over after hitting the Riptide on Doudrop. Doudrop almost had the match won just before that, after hitting a really nice little Michinoku driver on Alexa Bliss. I thought this was pretty good work by all four women. At the end of the match, after the victory, we had Rhea Ripley stare down Bianca Belair, and Judgment Day joined her side, did Balor and Priest. No Edge, as he was in the hospital after being turned on. And, Rhea Ripley gave Bianca that evil stare that she gives people, with that evil looking smile, almost looking like a jack-o'-lantern with the lipstick that she's wearing. So what do you think of the ladies match here, and what do you think of the matchup between Ripley and Bianca? I think, I said this was definitely going to be the next feud here, and I'm excited to see the two of them. They've been teasing their one-on-one battles ever since before Bianca was champion, when she was chasing Becky. They would run into each other in the gauntlet match, and they ran into each other in one of the 5-way matches a couple of times. It would have standoffs in the ring, but we would never really get Bianca and Ripley really working with each other. And now they're going to be working with each other on TV, obviously, and at Money in the Bank. So what do you think about this one?
Well, that's one thing that makes your show stand out amongst every other show in the wrestling community that's like this, is that you have, more than anyone, I would say, Matt, you have an ability to read the tea leaves. You have been very prescient in terms of your predictions consistently, and the things that you are able to see coming that not a lot of people can. So, you were saying that, it's going to be Ripley and it's going to be Belair. I mean, you were saying this before Ripley was even in Judgment Day. I mean, you were saying this a long time ago. I mean, so, that's one of the things about just this podcast that makes it so special and so informative for a wrestling fan. I mean, I know you liked that Tower of Doom spot that they did with Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan taking down really all four of them went down.
Yeah, that was a nice spot, and it made sense. That was a cool spot they did there. I liked it.
Yeah, I knew that was right up your alley, but that was like my favorite part of the match. I mean, I felt like Alexa didn't really get any good moves in. Like there was nothing that if I was watching this match, I would say, oh, that Alexa girl, she's like probably the worst wrestler of the four, which is not true. But you know what I mean? To me, there was nothing really showcasing her in this match. Very little that she really accomplished in this match.
Yeah, she kind of got pushed to the side a little bit.
Yeah, she didn't really get any moves in or do anything of note. But what I did like about it is, I thought Doudrop actually handled herself quite nicely. There was a few moments where, you could have thought maybe Doudrop is going to win this because she did look the strongest for a little while. And that was kind of cool to see her getting a little bit of shine. And, it was cool with Ripley kind of motioning to Belair throughout the whole thing as she's sitting there and waving to her and saying, watch me, I'm kick ass, whatever. So there was a lot of good moments about this. And I thought this was worthy of a main event. On a Raw. I mean, certainly not a pay-per-view main event, but this was a really nice little match.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match too, man. And I really thought that, Doudrop did get showcased well. The Tower of Doom spot was great. And the post-match stare down, made you think, Bianca looked like she was legitimately sort of shook by it. So, I think it's going to be a good matchup. You got two big women here. You got, Rhea Ripley now working as a heel. So it's going to be a match where she's going to try to ragdoll somebody who's a really good athlete. And I think that, it's sometimes styles clash when you have two big powerhouses like that. We'll see if that happens here. But I think that the two of them can work a really good match and, probably work a match better than two of the men could do. So I'm interested in seeing how this works out. And I've been interested in this matchup for a long time. I don't know about you, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley is basically to me, Bianca without the gymnastics. They're the same type of height, same type of build, same type of everything, same type of suplexes, all the, a lot of the stuff that they do just seems really similar to me. And I don't know if that's going to make for a great match or a weird match. You know what I mean? But it's certainly worthy of a pay-per-view women's, kind of showcase match. Absolutely. So it should be fun. And with Rhea taking on this character, it gives her really Bianca something that is going to really, I think, put her over and make her into the champion that I think they want her to be.
Yeah, I think having Bianca Belair against Rhea Ripley fighting this dirtier heel style is really going to put Bianca over as much more of a bigger baby face and have more of the edge and kind of how she wants to be. And maybe it'll lead to her eventual heel turn, just having that edge and, having the ability to, fight in a different style. And then eventually that'll lead to her attacking some baby face. I don't know. I've always wanted Bianca to turn heel, so that's why everything always leads to that. All roads do for me. But other than that, I thought it was a good episode of Raw, man. I thought that they, had the turns. A lot of stuff was really interesting. And, they furthered some storylines. There were some low points, of course, but it ended up with a main event, fatal four-way women's match. I thought the right woman won in Rhea Ripley. And, the Judgment Day turn in the last hour was great. And even having the Dirty Dogs come out and them start the feud with MVP and Lashley, them now coming and being baby faces, I think is an interesting dynamic. Becky Lynch going crazy, going to be feuding with Asuka. That's a good feud to look forward to. And of course, we had the Street Profits and the Usos. We're going to see them in a championship match coming up here. We also have Lashley and Theory tonight. Start something that I really didn't see coming. I didn't see Theory and Lashley bumping heads. I thought Lashley was above him at this point. in his career, and he was going to be moving on towards Roman Reigns, but we're going to see Theory get built up by Lashley, so it's a much more meaningful way to use Lashley than have him building up Omas. So thought it was a good episode of Raw. You got any final thoughts, Brad?
No, I mean, I'd love to see Edge somehow help out Bianca at that match. I think it's a good way to keep Rhea strong. I mean, obviously we can get into that down the line, but this was a very compelling episode of Raw, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, man, and looking forward to SmackDown. But I'd like to thank all you guys for joining us tonight. Remember to join us on Patreon. If you can, leave us a 5-star rating or a review. We're available on all podcast platforms. Follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. Give us an email, matt@beyondthemat.com. We will see you for the midweek fix. And until then,
I think I'm going to go to the nearest nudie bar and have a drink.
all right. Thanks, Brad, for joining us. We're out of here.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.